There we go. How's that? All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I am your president, Courtney Piccolo. And as you all know, we start off all of our meetings by reciting the four-way test. If you would please join me. Drum roll. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Today, our opening song, The Star-Spangled Banner, and the pledge will be led by Cal Weary, followed by the invocation with Eric Chase and Victoria Connor, and visitor introductions by Sean Kenny.
Rotarians, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last streaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say doth that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For a moment this afternoon, I'd like you to find these on your table. They're small slips of paper, and share them with each other. We're going to ask you to join in this litany called We Remember Them. As you know, today is September 11th. It is the tragic happening in New York City and at the Pentagon and in Somerset, Pennsylvania. And we just want to take a moment to remember. Victoria and I are going to do this together. She's going to explain to you where this comes from. Your part is we remember them. So let's try that. And you're going to get stronger as we go along. And at the end, we'll have a moment of silence because we want to really remember them. And then at the end, we'll have a moment of silence. And then I'll end with we remember them. Amen. Okay. And Victoria's going to tell you a little bit about where this came from.
So 23 years ago, as you know, the first plane struck the towers, and then we had a crash of United Flight 93 in Somerset. I was just 8 months on the job with the American Red Cross at that time, and soon was deployed to Somerset to help coordinate the memorial services that were held for the families of the loved and the loved ones of those who passed. And there were two during that week because there were flight restrictions and all the above. But during those services, we had very simple things that we could do for the families. So we provided them with a vial of soil from near the crash site in a white box, a white candle, and this prayer card. And each year, ever since then, the families do this litany at the memorial services then. I was very proud to be a part of that. Jeff Barnes, a former Rotarian of this club, led that disaster operation, and he and I were texting this morning. We were very privileged and honored to be one of 70 people that responded on behalf of the American Red Cross at that time. So let us go. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter.
In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring.
Remember them. In the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer.
In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn.
We remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them.
When we are weary and need of strength.
We remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joys we yearn to share.
We remember them. And so long as we live, they too shall live for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
And let's just take a moment of silence to remember all those, all 3,000 plus who have lost their lives historically and tragically that day, and even those who continue to suffer in the aftermath of 9/11. And we remember them. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand, remain standing until President Courtney says you can sit back down. We have no visiting Rotarians today, so we'll go into guests. The following are guests of Rotarian Mike Lowe: Ann Lampy, Brett Butler. Joining as a guest of past President Brian Tate, we have Paul Minnick. Now we can all say this one together. As a guest of Thomas Caltagirone, Saeed Fassad. I think I got that right. The following are guests of Gina Spangler, Oscar Aroso, and Bernadette Lauer. That's how you do it, folks. That's how you do it. For when you're up here, that's how you do it. Right, Lynn? Thank you. Turn it over to Courtney.
Yes, I'm so glad that someone took the time to invite you to our program today. If this is your first time visiting us, I hope you find the food, fellowship, and the program to be nothing less than outstanding. The second time that you have visited our club, let me be the first to say welcome back. And if it's the third time that you visit our club, please see me after the meeting at the front table and we'll talk about membership. Rotarians, please help me welcoming our guests. And now for some announcements. This past Monday, we had our club's annual fundraiser, Love for Community. The day was filled with sports, a lot of fun, and a lot of fellowship. This year, we had 100% of participation from all past presidents, contributing over $5,000 in scholarships. And this year, we had a record amount of people attend, and we raised a record amount of money, over $100,000. This money will be used to support a future project that our Service Project Development Committee, the SPEEDY Committee, is working hard to identify. Could be a project that uses just this year's funds or a project that we use several years of funds to support. Regardless, it'll be a project that supports our club's mission and our club's strategic plan. And this really cool news station named Facts 43 swung by on Monday, and they did a story on us, and we're going to play the video clip here for you.
The Rotary Club of York held its signature Love for Community event today at the Country Club of York as friends came together for a day of golf, tennis, croquet, and cornhole. It is a fundraising event to support projects and organizations within York County that includes things like youth literacy, the opioid crisis, child care scholarships, and youth baseball programs.
It feels great being here and getting to see everybody. We have over 250 people playing one of the various sports today between cornhole, croquet, golf, tennis, and pickleball.
Members of the Fox 43 team out on the course for the fundraiser as well today. Fox 43's Alex Cawley, Todd Sadowski, and Ryan Yee teeing off in York County this morning.
So it doesn't hurt having Rotarian Christoph in our club sometimes. Thank you, Fox 43. And thank you honestly to everybody who donated and organized and attended and partied to make this year's Love for Community a success and a blast. Cannot wait till next year. So now moving on to some more announcements. The board of directors will meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. on Zoom. And at the end of this month, we are hitting the road on September 25th when our club meeting will be held at the New York History Center building on Pershing Avenue. Tours of the museum will be included. Guests are welcome, but you must register yourself and any guest in advance to attending this meeting. The deadline to attend is September 18th next week. And as of before this meeting, we had 28 people signed up to attend. That included myself, Lynn, and Heather. We don't even count, so that's 25 people. So I did walk around and we put some QR codes on your table. Please scan them and sign up to attend for yourself and any guests. Also, tomorrow in the announcer, there will be a link that you can click on to register yourself. We do need to know the total count since we're moving off-site. The Membership Recruitment Committee reminds you that for the next 3 weeks, when you bring a guest to a weekly meeting, you will be entered for a chance to win a $100 gift card. We can go to the next slide whenever you get a chance, Mike. Rotarians get an entry for each guest that they bring in the month of September. And the more guests that you bring, the better your chances. The drawing will take place on October 2nd. So be more like the king of bringing guests, Tom Caltagirone. All right, next up for announcements, 2 Rotary clubs in our district. They're hosting a Rotary Means Business networking event. It's tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Dickinson College in Carlisle. This is a free event with free food and alcohol. So if one of the reasons that you joined Rotary was to go to free events, no, I'm kidding, was to network with other Rotarians, this would be a great event for you to attend. The link to register, it was included in the district newsletter that went out this past Monday. So if you do want to attend that, you do need to register and just look at the district newsletter. And now I would like to bring up Madeline Torres Oscato to the podium for an announcement around Hispanic Heritage Month. Madeline.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm nervous, it never goes away. So Heritage Hispanics, Hispanic Heritage Month. It has many meanings for each Hispanic country that is represented here in the United States. President Lyndon Johnson declared the observation of the Hispanic Heritage Month week. It started with the week in 1968. He just wanted to honor 6 of Central and South American countries celebrating their Independence Day from Spain. So Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua on the 15th of September. And the 16th of September, the Republic of Mexico. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan extended the celebrations to properly recognize the significant contributions of Hispanic Latino Americans to the United States. When we are in our countries, we really don't say, hey, I'm Puerto Rican or I'm any other ethnicity. When we come to the United States is when we actually realize that we take for granted our heritage, our celebrations, our traditions, because we're used to it. That's what everyone does. We're all from the same place. While we learn our country's history, we sometimes fail to appreciate the significance of it or share it with anyone else around us. It is only when we leave our homes, our countries, that we truly begin to identify this. We become so proud of who we are, where we come from, that we want to share our heritage with everyone around us. So I encourage all of you to take part in the celebrations, to immerse yourself in something new, to savor delicious food, and dance away the stress. So for that, I can give you some hints on your tables. You'll find a flyer that has events are starting on Friday with the Latinos Unidos and the second Latino Friday. We will be at the Appel Center, right in front of the Appel Center on the street. Music, food, vendors. If you just take part, you just learn one thing at a time, and that will create a better understanding of who we are, what we do, and unified us together as United States. Thank you.
Recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month at Rotary, it's important because it fosters inclusion. And Rotary is an organization that values diversity and inclusion. Additionally, it can strengthen member engagement. This recognition can lead to partnerships, service projects, and initiatives that address specific needs of our club's mission of improving life in the city of York. So thank you again to Madeline for that announcement. And now I would like to invite up Chris Toth, Chair of Membership Engagement, to the podium to do a committee spotlight for our Membership Engagement Committee. As Chris is coming up, I want to give a little more background around what a committee spotlight is. The purpose of doing a committee spotlight is so a committee can share awareness of what they do, as well as share how their committee ties into our club's mission and mission statement and strategic plan. It's something that past president Aaron started last year. It was called the President's Challenge. We just renamed it to the Committee Spotlight since Aaron is no longer president, and we're continuing on with it. So, Chris, the microphone is yours.
I think I need this thing next year for our auction. I like it. Membership engagement, just to give you an idea. Does anybody here not know what membership in Rotary is? Please raise your hand. If you know it, please raise your hand if you do know what membership in Rotary is. Okay, I've got you all engaged now. Now, you see that was this very simple thing that our committee does. We ask a few questions, you raise your hand, and there we are. No, to give you a little bit better idea of what we are, we've got a couple of things that we've got going on right now. Membership engagement, you will within the next couple of days be getting a membership engagement survey that our committee has put together, and we'll be sending that out to get your feedback on and hopefully be able to act on some of the things to get you all more involved in our Rotary Club. On top of that, we also are the committee that handles the mentor program for new Rotarians that come into our club. We pair them up with people that are already in the club to help guide them through the first 3 to 6 months of their time in the club and answer any questions that they have and meet up with them and get to know them on a different level than anything others outside than sitting down and having lunch with them at one of our meetings. And then the third portion of it that we are also working on right now is one of the things is all the networking and sort of the things, what's that? Events that we're going to be putting together for all of us to be able to get together. So we are taking information. I know that we did a survey live in one of our meetings, and I know that I think beer, wine, and child-friendly things were the top 3, which is really remarkable to me that beer, wine, and child-friendly is what everybody is looking for. It sounds like my house on a Wednesday night. But those are the kind of things that we're looking on for feedback on, and you'll get that very soon. To give you an idea about our committee, we do meet one time a month. We meet on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, which gets a little confusing some months. We do not have a specific location for it. We are moving from month to places. To give you an idea, the last 2, we did one at Crimson. We have done one at South County. And Rotarian Teresa Gregory is hosting us at the Outdoor Country Club for the next one, and then we'll pick the next one. So every month we have a different location for ours. We're trying to spread them out around the area. And if I didn't mention it at the beginning, that usually comes with somebody picking up the tab for all the food and booze that we have at the meeting. So if you are looking for that, don't bring your kids, by the way, to the committee meeting, okay? But if you're looking for that free wine and booze that you were talking about that you want more of, that's a committee to join. And I'm going to break one of the rules for the member engagement committee spotlight here. I was told not to say when our next meeting is because it will be announced at the meeting, but our next meeting was not announced at this meeting, and it's next Tuesday before our next one, and that's the one that's at the Outdoor Country Club. So if anybody is interested in joining that committee, feel free to reach out and get in touch with me. And you know where to find me. I'm at the top of the hill if you need me. Thank you very much.
All right. And now I would like to bring past President Ann Druck to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, President Courtney. Fellow Rotarians and guests, we have layers of remembrance, significance, and relevance in our program today. Number one, during Patriot Day, our country's remembrance of the thousands of lives lost, including hundreds of heroic first responders who answered the call on this fateful day. Second, our mission, as Courtney shared, to improve life in the city of York. We are honored to welcome York City's Fire and Rescue Services Chief today. And finally, on the eve of National Fire Prevention Month, we raise awareness about the importance of fire safety and the protection of homes and families. As we welcome our speaker today, did you know the first fire department in the U.S. was founded by none other than founding father Benjamin Franklin in Philadelphia in 1736. The original brigade was formed by 26 volunteers, each bringing 6 buckets to carry water and 2 linen bags to rescue property. Members had different roles such as water management, property protection, training, and fire prevention. Fire engines, ladders, and other equipment were financed by, Lynn, take note, fines paid by members for absence at monthly meetings. Fire companies started forming and the results were immediate. In a time when fires consumed entire city blocks, Philadelphia had lost not more than 1 or 2 houses at a time. Known as the father of our fire service, do you think Ben Franklin would be amazed to know the Philadelphia Fire Department budget is over $430 million? The City of York Department of Fire Rescue Services is the largest full-time cadre of firefighters in York County and has one of the oldest continuously operating fire stations in the entire country. Today, we are proud to welcome York City Fire Rescue Services Chief William H. Sleeger, Jr., a 32-year veteran with the department and a third-generation city firefighter, a man who's in demand. Before his appointment with the department, Chief Sleeger served our country as a member of the United States Navy. He graduated from the Hack Fire Academy and was assigned to A Platoon as a firefighter, where he became captain in 2015. He was promoted in 2019 to Assistant Chief of B Platoon. Chief Sleeger is a decorated member of York City's department, receiving numerous awards throughout his career, including a Chief's Commendation in 1994 for performing CPR on a victim of cardiac arrest while vacationing in Busch Gardens. He was named the department's Firefighter of the Year in 1997. The following year, he was awarded for rescuing an elderly lady trapped on the 2nd floor of a fire on Pattison Street. While on duty in May of 2015, he was awarded for his role working under a chaotic and dangerous scene, treating 2 victims suffering from gunshot wounds after a large fight in front of Station 2. City Council appointed him as York City Fire Rescue Chief in June of 2021. Thank you for your service to our country and our city, Chief. Please join me in a warm Rotary welcome for Chief Sleeger.
Good afternoon. Ann summed everything up for me, so I think I'm pretty much done. So again, thank you for inviting me here. I'm very honored to speak with you folks, as you are all members of the elite here within the York region. And I'm glad again to be able to speak with you folks. So as she said, my name is William Sleeger. My grandfather started as a volunteer with the Laurel Fire Company way back in the olden days. My father was a member, and he eventually became a York City police officer and retired after 27 years. My brother is also a member of our department, and he has since retired. My family has been ingrained with the city and the fire department for generations. And that's something I'm very, very proud of, is the involvement that my family has with the city. My path to the chief was not anything that I had ever thought of. When I started as a volunteer when I was 15 years old, I just wanted to run around, get on the trucks with the guys, and off we go. It wasn't until later that with my career that it was the opportunity to become the fire chief and continue to make this department grow. So one of the things I wanted to just talk with folks about is the history of the department. So as Ann said, Benjamin Franklin, again, was the grandfather of the fire department. So the York City Fire Department started in 1771. It was the Sun Fire Company. In August of 1772, they bought their first hand-drawn fire engine, and that was from Philadelphia. In 1777, the Continental Congress passed a resolution to appropriate $50 for the Laurel Wreath engine, and the Sun Fire Company then was named the Laurel Fire Company with that purchase or with that donation. The Continental Congress obviously was the first Congress of the United States. So our fire department has started basically with inception of this country. So as we all know, the Continental Congress also signed some articles in York prior to moving to Washington when we were the first capital. We have, at that time, they had 9 fire companies which had developed to where we're at today. One of the couple of the history things that I'd like to put out was the game well that we all talked about. That didn't come into service until 1884, and we kept that in service until 2023. The horses we would probably still be using today if we could. They're much cheaper to maintain than what the new apparatus are. The horses, when they originally bought, the first 2 horses were purchased for $500. I had just purchased a new engine that is now $1 million. And unfortunately, my ladder truck is 1.5 million. So I will take the $500 in horses. The first horses were actually purchased in 1886. So prior to that, it was all hand-drawn apparatus. And then the first motorized apparatus didn't arrive in York City until 1915. Now, during our history, we have experienced 13 line of duty deaths, with the first ones being 3 at the York Carriage Works at North and George Street, and our last 2, March 22nd of 2018, with the loss of Ivan Flancia and Zach Anthony. So our department has got a lot of history. Ann said I only have 2 hours, so I want to try and get it in quick. But the history of my department and York department, it goes back for generations. I'm one of many generation firefighters. And again, we're very, very proud of that past. The history that we have is everything you could think of with the fire service, from the inception of hand-drawn apparatus to the game well system, and then again to motorized apparatus. We are right now in the process of renovating, as Ann said again, our oldest station, which was built in 1877. That station has never been rehabbed or reconditioned or anything since it was built. So I'm very proud again of the fact the city was able to get a RACP, and the many generous donors, the private donors that also assisted with those funds, so that we're able to get the building to the 21st century and move forward. But one of the things that I'm most proud about is the fact that the doors now that we've replaced on the station are now bifold doors. They are more efficient and work better than the overhead doors. But the biggest thing with that is the fact that those doors are original to the day when we first had the station built. The station originally had bifold doors, so we were able to return that back to the bifold door days. So again, as October rolls around, which is Fire Prevention Month, we will have our members out going to the schools and different programs, teaching kids about fire safety and secondary escapes, and more importantly, smoke detectors. The one thing that I can't emphasize enough is having smoke detectors and working smoke detectors. We had started a program because unfortunately we have experienced 8 deaths within a year and a half within the Latino community. So we wanted to sit down and come up with a plan on what we can do to put the word out. So not only that all the residents, but all the residents of Latino, and we now have a Haitian community and things of that. Those folks all get the word on, you know, what smoke detectors are and what they mean in that. So I, again, was approached by Joe Stein with your organization. We did try to do a grant and to establish our program, reestablish our program again and continue with that. Prior to COVID, we had a very robust smoke detector program where we would go out and install smoke detectors for residents at no charge. Unfortunately, with COVID, those funds, like everything, dried up, and we have been struggling now to get that program back up and running again. We did receive a donation from WellSpan of $6,000, and we were able to go out and put in 155 different residences smoke detectors with that donation. So again, as much as we say it, we see it. Smoke detectors do save lives. And that is the biggest challenge, is for folks to understand that and maintain that. That is the easiest way to get out, especially today. Fires 30 years ago used to double in size every 5 minutes. Today, they quadruple every 2 minutes. The materials that are made 20 years and 30 years ago with the wool and cotton and different fabrics today is all made by petroleum products. Firefighters today, you will see, are never without an air mask. Back when I started, we didn't wear them as often. The materials today will kill you quickly. And so that's why we just would like folks, if you have a fire, just get out of your house, call 911 and let those folks come in and take care of it. So with today, if I get choked up, I have to apologize. But anyway, so September 11th, 2001, I think we all remember what we were doing and what was going on that morning. So I remember that day well, and getting up and actually was getting ready to go to the fairgrounds that day. So put the TV on, saw the attacks. With our training, we've always discussed terrorist attacks using planes. We never discussed it to the level that we saw it that day. We were always talking about small aircraft, different things like that, but not airliners. Seeing that, we pretty much knew instantly it was a terrorist attack. So as with us, the emotions start moving right away. Within several hours, guys were looking to go to New York. Chief Seneff at the time put out a memo that no one was allowed to go because at that point we'd be inundating New York City with first responders from all over the country, basically. So as the days went on, we were contacted. So we put together crews that we would go and staff departments in New Jersey while those folks were over at Ground Zero. As that was moving forward, that program had stopped right as we were getting ready to start deploying folks, once they realized that it was going to be more of a recovery at that point, and there was no more rescue. After that, yeah, again, I apologize. I never discussed my 9/11 experiences, but excuse me. So after that, we were asked to come up and attend the funerals for firefighters. Members weren't getting the proper recognition because of all the members that were still working on the pile and folks that were killed. Typically a fire service funeral, you see thousands of people. They were getting maybe 20, 30 people at a funeral. So at that point, we took it upon ourselves. We went and started to go up to New York City to attend these funerals for our brothers. Oh, thank you. So we went and stayed in Chinatown and went to our different funerals. Sometimes we were going to 3 a day. We were going from funeral to funeral. And then afterwards, we would go to Ground Zero. The experience of Ground Zero, it's indescribable. It was debris that was piled as high as the Yorktown Hotel for square blocks. And then the smells that were down there, you know, people always say about, you know, remembering smells, and the different smells of different things you could, you know, still remember to this day. So we were able to go and visit the site and, you know, just be there to see what was going on with the rescue. Well, actually at that point, it was the recovery operations. During our trips, myself and my partner, we were able to go to the Fresh Kills landfill site. And that's where they took all the debris and all the vehicles and the fire apparatus and everything that was related to the trade center. They took over to Staten Island at the landfill there. And at the landfill, they sorted and separated everything. So as you went in, there were different areas with fire trucks. There were different areas with police cars. There were different areas with civilian vehicles that were smashed and burned from that day. And they were all in different sections. And these vehicles were piled 40, 50 foot high. It was unbelievable to see that and see what the damage was that they were still trying to remedy, basically. So as we were over there, they were still bringing the debris over, and they were still looking for individuals, anything that they could find to identify folks, whether it was a driver's license or anything with a piece of paper with their name on it. And they had folks that were just going through all the debris, going through that. The biggest takeaway that I had was not only this, obviously the destroyed fire apparatus, but they had a section there with the airplane parts, the jet engines, seats, different things that survived the crashes, had its own separate area. So it was very humbling. And I believe it was humbling for the whole city. When we walked around New York City, there was just obviously nothing but thousands and thousands of pictures of folks that were lost, that people, the families were trying to find, that were plastered everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere without hundreds of pictures up. And it just made it that much more real for a lot of people. Those of us that were in the military, you know, we already knew what that meant and what was coming. With the folks that were killed at the Pentagon, 155 people there, and then again at Shanksville, you know, we knew what was going to happen, and again, we were prepared for whatever was going to be asked of us and our members. Since then, we had many members deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan to support that endeavor. So, yeah, this is a day, like I say, we just don't want to forget and remember what it means. And again, a lot of folks that sacrificed themselves, again, for us to do what we're doing and continuing to have the freedoms that we have. So that's the biggest takeaway with that. Again, everybody got up, went to work that day, not expecting it to turn into what it did. But here we are. And again, we must always remember that. So I don't want to leave everybody on a bad note with that, but I do appreciate the opportunity to talk to you folks about this. Apologize for my getting choked up. It's been 22, 23 years. It's still difficult. So, but with that, I'll take your questions.
Thank you, Chief, for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Could you talk to us about a volunteer contingent that you have? If you have a volunteer contingent, I believe you do, but I'm not positive actually. And if so, the training that they go through.
So with today's, unfortunately, the way today is, and then you folks see it here with your organization too, volunteerism is going away. When the department first started, it was a volunteer department. Then within, like I said, the 1920s is when they put on the paid drivers. After that, the volunteerism everywhere has since declined. Within the past 20 years, the volunteerism has declined to a point with the fire service that we are now having to do more paid departments. York City Fire Department was a volunteer department, which was eventually supplemented with career drivers, to today that we have now had to make that switch to a career department with some volunteers that are left. Our volunteer system, we still keep in place. We have that they're required to do their training when they join the fire companies. We have 9 fire companies in the city. Unfortunately, we're down to about 4 active, which would be the Laurel, the Vigilant, the Rex, and the Goodwill, or the Lincoln, I'm sorry. The other companies, the Royal, the Union, the Rescue, the Goodwill, those are pretty much defunct at this point because of the folks that were in it have either died off and there was never anybody to replace them. And it's a continuing trend, unfortunately, with the fire service throughout this country. But we still do encourage the youngsters to come in, ride along and join. And then the programs we still offer for them are again, their training, and we send them up to York County Fire School and get them on board. And hopefully they want to pursue that career. So.
Chief, 2 questions for you, unrelated. But first, I know because I'm the solicitor for North York Borough that York City provides fire and rescue services for North York Borough. Do you do it for any other municipalities? That's my first question. And my second question is, now that the 9/11 sites have been recovered and there are now museums there at both New York and Shanksville, have you visited the sites? And if so, what is that experience like for you when you go back?
So yes, we do provide fire protection for North York Borough. And we're very proud of that. We're in our 4th year with providing that service. We do not provide that service for anyone else in the county. So that would be the only borough or anything that we provide that service. Now we handle mutual aid throughout the county. It's not uncommon to see our apparatus going pretty much the red line for incidents. We've been already down to Stewartstown to help folks out down there with our ladder truck already. So as far as 9/11, I've been up after that to see for some of the events that they were put on through the department. I've not been to Shanksville other than drive-by and the Pentagon. It's difficult at times having friends. Since 9/11, last year, 343 firefighters died from 9/11 disease. So we have now matched that number from the initial attacks to folks dying from the cancers. There are thousands of members up there now that have cancer. One of my, I apologize again. A close friend of mine worked at Ladder 4 in Manhattan, which was the Times Square district. He worked a pile. His name is Al Schwartz. He always laughed because he was in the drum and bugle corps in the Irish band, and he's a Jewish guy. And that's what he would always say is, I'm the only Jew playing in the Irish band. It always got a kick out of that. So my friend Al, unfortunately now has the cough. And it's difficult, but just being around those guys like that and seeing, unfortunately, what they went through trying to rescue and save, the other New Yorkers, and now they're all sick today. And unfortunately, we have to fight Congress to get bills passed and laws, so that way these folks are protected federally, because they have since been denied benefits through the insurance companies with any 9/11 related diseases.
Thank you, Chief, for your service and a wonderful inspirational talk today. I'm always curious when there is a fire in the county, the relationship and the movement of the various companies from one location to another location and how the first location gets covered. I assume that there's a system in place. Does it work well? Does it need to be improved? Can you give a brief statement how that works?
Yeah, so that would fall under what we call mutual aid and then backfilling. Okay, so if there's an event in York City, we would recall personnel, off-duty personnel. They would come in and staff reserve equipment. After that, we would call in, say, a county ladder truck to cover. If we needed an extra ladder truck, they would come in from, say, West York or Springersbury, things of that nature. Say you have a working incident in Red Line, all the folks in that metro area around Red Line will go to that incident. And at that point, again, they would ask for backfilling of stations, and then different departments would send apparatus down, which is like we would do. We would send an engine or a ladder truck down to those different areas if they had a significant event going there. It does work well. It's not as well as it used to be, obviously, because the volunteerism really is affecting those companies. So they're having to go further and further out to get staffed equipment to come into those areas, which is why now you're starting to see more regional departments starting to pop up. Yalfer, which is York Area Regional, was the first one. Hanover and Penn Township now have merged several years back. Safer, which is now the Southern York area, they have emerged several departments, and in the northeast departments, Dillsburg area, they have started since the merged departments. And it's several reasons. One is the manpower situation, and again, the cost of the apparatus. The apparatus is just not sustainable for volunteers to purchase equipment at $1 million. The turnout gear, you're talking $10,000 for turnout gear. Training to send a guy to the fire academy is another $8,000. And then after you have all this, then we have required training throughout the year, which is why it's almost becoming where the state is forcing career departments to start, because they're asking way too much for the volunteers to provide. Because you have to have hazmat certification, you have to have your EMS certifications, and all these things now that they're dictating that folks need to, have to provide that service. So. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, how are you? So you mentioned that the smoke detectors are the biggest, life-saving feature for fires. What is the leading cause of fires? Or obviously there's different reasons, but what do you see that could be something we could all control?
Again, it runs the gamut. Careless smoking, electrical, having too many items plugged into a socket, an outlet, or what we refer to as zip cords, the wires that are not heavy enough gauge to have a air conditioner running. Somebody will plug in a little Christmas cord light to make that as an extension cord, and against that'll start a fire. Placing wiring underneath carpets, and it runs the gamut. Accidental fires also are folks leaving stuff on the stove. We've had incidents where the dogs got up and knocked the burner on and caught stuff on the stove on fire. So the biggest thing that we do see is electrical and smoking, improperly discarded smoking.
Chief, thanks so much for your service and for being with us today.
Thank you.
You mentioned in your comments that the Gamewell system was deactivated last year.
Yes.
As a city resident, I know that that's been a discussion point for quite some time, but I was curious the rationale for finally ending the Gamewell system.
So the Gamewell, when it was originally designed, was the only way you could notify or turn in an alarm of fire, as it was called. There were no telephones or things of that nature, and unless you ran to the fire station and was banging on the door, there was no way that folks knew that there was an alarm of fire. So they developed the Gamewell system, placed alarm boxes on the corners, and each alarm box had its own number. And then that number, as we would get that number to tap in, we could look at our chart and see where it was at. And then that started in 1840 till we stopped it last year. For example, the Cable House is 439. York Hospital is 415. You know these numbers off the top of your head like that, you know, and as somebody would pull that hook, it instantly rang the bell stations, instantly. That was the quickest, and it is still the quickest alarm of fire that we can receive. As that would run its course, that would ring the bells, turn our lights on. As we got with the radio and technology, what was funny is we would actually get the box alarm come in, we would go to the call, clear the call, and then that's when we would receive a call from York County Control saying, hey, we got a fire alarm at 133 West Market Street. Yeah, okay, we just cleared it. You know, that's how fast that system used to work. Unfortunately, today, what really put the Gamewell out of service is the third-party alarm systems like we have now through ADT and all those different folks. They provide that protection, that service, and that's originally what the Gamewell was designed for. With cell phones now, you know, it pretty much took all that away. When I started the job, when you got a box alarm, as what we called those, a Gamewell box, we called those box alarms, you didn't know what you got. It could have been a false alarm. It could have been a fire. It could have been an assault. It could have been a shooting. It could have been a car accident. It just ran the whole gamut. And the funny was we had an accident the one night, they actually hit the pole, it rang the box in. You know, it was the middle of the night. That was the only car that was involved in that wreck. And if it wouldn't have rang the box in, it would have been some time till somebody would have probably came upon that. So it had its place, and I am sad to see it leave. Yes. You know, the Yorktown Hotel, box 6. You know, that thing banged in. We're already there before it stopped tapping in the station. You know, we're already pulled out and down the street. So it is a piece of history that unfortunately is going to the wayside. But what I am doing is with the station renovations, I'm having that a system is still installed within the station that when folks come in for tours, you know, we're able to show them how it worked. And I'm pretty proud of that too, that we're able to do that. So right before I came here, actually the gentleman that I have working on it, he's one of our longtime volunteers. He's retired from the job. He was actually rewiring the board, got frustrated because of many years of wires going in and out and people splicing things, trying to figure out the system. So we're trying to get all that out and get cleaned up. We will hold an open house at some point when we're done the construction at Station 1. And again, invite everybody that would like to attend, especially our donors that are here in the room. And again, we're very proud of what the station looks like. We've kept a lot of it original, so that a lot of things weren't changed. It was just painted over. But we did make some new changes again, like the doors. We did change those back to bifold. So.
Chief, I'm curious if an incident like 9/11 occurred in a major city again, with the benefit of hindsight, strategically, is there a different response that first responders would use?
Well, yeah, yes. Since 9/11, we have gotten away from what's called the 10 codes. We now use plain talk. One of the things that was looked at through the federal system was everybody's 10 code was different. So a 10-10 was different in Florida than it was in York, which was different in, say, New York City. So they just decided that we're just going to do away with it, go to plain text. And then since then too, with the fire service, we have developed strategies and things of that nature to I don't want to say combat, but just be prepared for significant events. We do have plans for a lot of that, not just mass casualties for, say, a facility fire, but also for vehicle accidents. And if there were to be, say, a plane crash in York, we have those capabilities and are prepared for some of those. So obviously 9/11, no one was prepared for that day. And as much as New York City does high rises and things of that nature, it overwhelmed them very, very, very quickly. So, but yeah, that's things that we do look at. As I said, we talked about using planes before as terrorist items and tools, but nobody ever thought, because we don't have that thought in our head, we're going to fly a jetliner. And that was always difficult for us to think that. And then once it happened, it definitely changed the game. So.
I got nervous before we got started because his phone started ringing with a little siren sound. I was like, uh-oh, we're going to need to find another last minute speaker right before he went up. But thank you. It was very fascinating to get a history lesson about the city that we love so much. And the history, our city would be a lot different if it weren't for the history of our city's fire department. It's evident that the passion that you have for your job has been passed down for generations, and being in a family business myself, I can personally appreciate an entire family's dedication to such an important service to the community. So thank you again for that. I think we sometimes take for granted that we are members of our community and we have your team to watch over us during difficult and dangerous times. So it's certainly fitting to have you share your passion, experience, and memories on today of all days 9/11. Thanks to you and your team of dedicated, passionate firefighters for keeping us all safe at times, and we look forward to a successful building renovation of the Laurel Fire Company. And as you all know, instead of giving the speakers a gift, we purchase a book and we ask them to sign the book plate and we donate it locally. This week's book will be donated to the York Day Early Learning, along with a bookmark made by the students at Creative York. And next week, we will hear from Dr. Michelle Devlin, professor of environmental security at the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle. She is a doctor of public health, registered nurse, emergency medical technician, and her specialty areas include disaster relief, emergency response, climate migration, and extreme remote regions. Dr. Devlin has been providing consulting and training to the military, law enforcement, medical workers, and other first responders for over 3 decades. Her presentation will focus on the rapidly increasing challenge of human climate, migration, and environmental displacement. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.